What's up, Brendan? This is the guy I do the podcast with.
How we doing, boss?
Good, man. Yourself?
Good. Appreciate you getting on here with us, man.
Nah, my pleasure, man. My pleasure.
How you
I'm
feeling?
just gonna fix this. I'm good, man. Just been home chilling with the kids, and just got back in a bit of training yesterday. So
Sweet.
trying to see up another fight sooner rather than later. Trying not to have any more layoffs.
Yeah, you look good.
Sorry.
You look good. That knockout was unbelievable. I'm sure you've heard it 1,000 times now, but
Yeah, it was good to finally be able to do what we do in training and translate it to the fight. Like all my training partners were just like, finally you do what you do in training in a fight. So it was good. Yeah, that's what we're after.
found that groove, huh?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, 100%. We just got everything in training. We got all down pat. And hopefully, we know what we have to do for the future now. So yeah.
What time is it over there? It's 8:30, correct?
8:30 in the morning. Yeah, 8:30.
Wow, man, it's a 16-hour difference here.
It is. Yeah, I'm up early anyway. We've got the kids at home, so the kids are up about 6:30, sometimes earlier. So
Nice.
so it's normal for us. Yeah.
What is it like dealing with that when you got to come all the way over to the States to fight? Then, how do you train for that? How different is that? How much does that change things?
So the time difference. I mean, when we fight in America, it's about midday in Australia. So it's not too bad in terms of the fight.
Right.
It's all the media obligations throughout
Right.
the week. Early in the morning. That's usually like obviously when we're sleeping in Australia. So I try my best to change my schedule around to suit our sleep pattern in Australia, and I'll try and stick to the same time in Australia. So I think we'll go to bed later in America, and we'll get up later, and we'll try and stick to like a normal time pattern in Australia. And that sort of seems to work well. Instead of trying to adjust to the time zone, I just stick to the Australian time zone as best as we can. Abu Dhabi was hard though, because I was fighting Diego Sanchez. We were in the octagon at 5:30 a.m. Abu Dhabi time. It doesn't matter where you are around the world. 5:30 a.m. is 5:30 a.m.
Yeah, your body still thinks it's 5:30 no matter where you are. So.
Wow.
Yeah, man, we were up. Yeah, I was going to bed at 6 p.m. and getting up 2:30 a.m. and it was a bit shit because you still feel like.
I can imagine. So.
Oh man, we finished the fight. Went back to the hotel. We watched all the rest of the event, and then still had time to go and have the buffet breakfast at the hotel. It was weird. It was weird.
That's funny. Oh, what is the time difference between Australia and Abu Dhabi then?
I can't remember. I think it might not be as much as the States.
Somewhere in between.
But I think the time, it's somewhere in between. But the time difference between the States and Abu Dhabi is a lot bigger. That's why, and because obviously when they want to broadcast, they want to make sure that people in the States, which is their biggest audience, can watch. So that's why we're fighting in the middle of the night there.
Oh.
Yeah, that's gotta be. Yeah, I'm sure your body gets thrown all off. It's just weird.
I mean, I fought at all times, from night time, the middle of the day, early morning. So I'm used to whatever.
I mean, it even throws me off just watching the fights. I mean, whenever they're in like Abu Dhabi, they'll start over here at like noon.
11 a.m.
Yeah, I'm like waking up, and then in a few hours, it's like I've got time to watch the fights. I'm just like, what the hell? This is weird.
Yeah.
I mean,
I find it weird because like you got guys here at the pub in Australia, and like in the normal prelims will start at 8 a.m. in Australia. Just for a normal UFC card, man, they're at the pub, they're drinking beers 8 a.m. They don't give a fuck.
So if you want to watch the fights there, you're waking up early to catch them.
Yeah, we're not having like normally you'd be having like a steak and beer and stuff watching the fights. We're having like eggs Benedict for breakfast watching the fights and coffee. You know what I mean? It's different.
That's
yeah.
good.
How popular is MMA in Australia compared to like other parts of the world that you noticed? I mean, is it about the same? I think it's more, because I know rugby's huge, obviously, in Australia.
It's definitely taken off, man. To be honest, like I don't know, I don't really meet anyone these days that have any like ill feelings towards MMA. When I first got in the UFC, like the octagon was banned in the state that I'm from, so we had to have like meetings. We're having meetings with politicians and the UFC brass, were coming over and we're talking to politicians to try and get the cage here. And man, all the tabloids are all putting out like, you know, pretty shitty interviews and articles about MMA, saying it's cage fighting and whatnot. It's done a big 180 now. Like, it seems like everyone's on board. And I think Israel Adesanya was saying, he was saying how much attention that we get and how much support we get in Australia. And he said that's why he'll never fight in New Zealand again, because he just said it's, you know, we don't get that support in New Zealand, and they should. They got, you know, they've got like one of the pound for pound best champions fighting out in New Zealand, and they're not getting that support. So, but we definitely do. I don't see how it can really get much bigger apart from just having more in terms of fan base. Almost everyone that I meet is a fan. I don't see how it could get much bigger in Australia. Just having more frequent events, I guess, would grow the sport a bit more. But man, there's gyms on there's a martial arts gym on every street. It's really oversaturated with martial arts gyms, which is a good thing in terms of the popularity for the sport. Bad thing in terms of, you know, quality of training that people can get. Some people get roped into these crappy gyms,
but get washed out.
But yeah, it's, man, I mean, like it's I'd say, you know, in terms of, you know, population size to America, the popularity of MMA is probably about the same.
Yeah. So,
it's huge.
It's taken off everywhere. Yeah. I mean, it's where it is now compared to, like, you know, like almost like you said, like 15 years ago, it was like, I mean, 15 years ago, they didn't even have women competing. Now that's taken off. You know, it's
all of my pro fights before I got in the UFC were all in a boxing ring. My first time fighting in an octagon was in the UFC.
How does that work? Like, is there just no work up against the fence in a boxing ring, or how does that work then?
I actually didn't mind the boxing rings because you get to bail them in the corner and they can't get out. You know, so but in going to the octagon, it wasn't a detriment. It actually felt better going from the ring to the octagon. Obviously, it's a better just a better environment to fight in the octagon. So I didn't have any issues going from a boxing ring to the octagon, but I did enjoy fighting in the boxing ring as well. You know, you put someone in the corner, they're not getting out. It's wail on them, so it was good.
It's honestly kind of crazy because when you look at it, like I didn't know until not too long ago, but like I know in like all the other pro organizations, they use like a pentagon because it's got like 6 sides because the UFC has the octagon they got a trademark.
Patent.
Yeah. So I mean, I didn't even know that until not too long ago. I just call it an octagon, and I still call it an octagon, even though it's in shape. You know, like I didn't even notice that until I think I was watching Eagle FC a couple of weeks ago, and it was when Junior Dos Santos had fought, and I was just like, you know what? That's not an octagon. I was like, I thought I learned my shapes, and I guess I didn't.
But, well, our biggest one here is Hex Fight Series, so Hexagon, but everyone still says, you know, I can't wait to get inside the octagon and fight. It's just like become the standard, I guess.
It's just so big, you know. It's kind of like it is in UFC and Bellator. I think Mike Chandler said it best. You know, it's like Bellator, you know, that some of these other organizations might pay better, but the UFC gives you a big audience, big audience. It's just, man, so many people are in tune with the UFC, and not as many people are in tune. Bellator is growing, and you know, PFL is growing a lot, but it's just not the same. It's just not. It's not.
No, I think ONE FC. I think people are starting to see ONE FC has some real dangerous fighters. Like some of their fights, like
talent.
Yeah, man. I watch ONE FC fights. I'm a big fan of some of the ONE FC guys, and man, they go hard, man. Everything from like the submissions they're pulling off to the striking. I think they're some of the best strikers in the world.
Oh yeah, they have different. Like, don't they have like just grappling? Then they have like Muay Thai. Then they have MMA. I mean, I kind of would. I wish that Ben Askren would have came in younger because, man, he was a champion in ONE.
Well, the thing about ONE is obviously they're going to lack the wrestling because obviously America is going to dominate in the wrestling aspect. So, you know, in the Asian circuit, they got very good jiu-jitsu. Their striking kills it with the Muay Thai and all the kickboxing and whatnot they've got in the Asian Europe scene. But obviously, like you said, with Ben Askren being champ, like if you've got solid wrestling, you could sort of dominate there. But then you've got guys like Sage Northcutt and Demetrius Johnson. They go across to ONE, and then you see where you know the ONE FC strikers have a little bit of the upper hand there.
Did you watch Demetrius Johnson and Rod Tang?
I watched some highlights of it. I
It's
think
awesome.
Rod Tang was doing all right. I heard
Yeah. I mean, he
for a
won the
little
first
bit.
round by a little bit, and then
Yeah,
obviously in the second round, Demetrius Johnson is obviously a very high level striker too. Once they got to the
yeah.
second round, I mean, once they got to the ground, I don't think Rodtang, I don't think he really knew what was coming. I mean, I think next I've heard that he might fight Haggerty, which I think would be a little bit better
Yeah,
ground game because I think, from what I understand, he's got a lot better, more of a MMA background than just Rodtang's one of the best Muay Thai fighters ever.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
400 fights or some crazy shit like that.
yeah. It's insane. It's
What's
almost like playing It's almost like playing football games for the Thai guys when they're young. They almost fight every weekend. Every
yeah.
weekend.
My crew he had went to Thailand. He was just like, it's insane. He's like, he's like 6'4", probably 240 pounds, and he's like, dude, a guy half my size over there can beat my ass just because they've been doing it since they were kids. I mean, it's insane. Their cardio, their strength. It's like it's just a way of life. In America is a little bit. I mean, we're all spoiled over here, and people don't realize it. They go to a different country. I mean, you go to somewhere like Thailand. I mean, even Australia, I'm sure you're kind of spoiled, and you go to somewhere like Thailand.
Yeah.
It's like, damn, wow, it's definitely a different way of life. So what kind of questions has got on here for you? When did you start training MMA?
So I got into MMA. I was about 15 when I started MMA. I boxed since I was about 12 years old.
Okay.
Which obviously showed in the last fight finally.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, I always thought I'm a striker at heart, and they're like, "Oh, you're always grappling in your fights," and I don't know. It's just boxing with boxing gloves in a boxing ring is completely different. You got to figure out your way to translate it to MMA, and we've finally done that. So, but I was boxing since I was 12. I played Australian rules football, so Australian football.
Okay.
I played that for 9 years. Played for representative teams. Did a stint with some of the high level teams as well, and yeah, I just started during the off season. I got into a little bit of kickboxing for fitness, and that led into MMA, jiu-jitsu. I was training for about 6 months. The coach asked me if I wanted to have an amateur fight. I think it was about 3 days' notice, and at that time, I still wanted to be a professional football player. So I said, I'll jump and have a fight, just a bit of fun, and I ended up winning that fight by a head kick knockout. That's when I was 16. So, and then from there, I mean, I was just hooked. I was hooked after that fight. I gave away the football. A lot of people were upset about that because they thought I was going to be, the next, big draft pick and whatnot. But yeah, I just said to my old man, I just said, look, this is what I want to do. I want to do this the rest of my life. So, just pretty much that's all I've done. Since I was 16, all I've done is fight. I've never had a normal job. I guess you could say I've never. I just literally just fought. Went to uni for 6 months, deferred. Was going to go back. That was like 8 years ago, so I'm not going back, obviously. And then, yeah, just progressed. Turned 18, turned pro. Got in 7 good fights. Went to the Ultimate Fighter, and obviously got my pathway to the UFC from there.
Right. Oh, that's awesome. Who's your if you could pick anybody, right? Like, who's you pick your fight against? Any legend, any big time fighter? I mean, who do you think you would love to just get in there with?
Oh man, I've never been asked that. I've been asked who my favorite fighters are, but never who I'd like to fight. Out of anyone, it'd definitely have to be. I mean, I've always had this thing about trying to get a fight with Carlos Condit.
Okay.
Obviously, because I back myself as, a striker, and now people understand what I do back myself as a striker. I can see myself becoming one of the best strikers in the division, and I've always known that, and I always thought, Carlos is the type of guy who's going to stand up, and he's a technical striker. He's not someone who's going to just, go ape shit and just start swinging, trying to have a brawl. It'd be a aggressive but technical fight. I've tried to ask for it a couple of times. I think he didn't want to make his way to Australia. Obviously he's a legend. I should be going to him if I want to fight. Right. But I mean, that's something that still appeals to me. You know what I mean? Pretty much anyone. I mean, the top 15 is littered in the welterweight division, littered with good strikers.
I think you're in the toughest division in the UFC, the welterweights. It just, I mean, when you look at the top, I mean, you got Hamzat, you've got Usman, who's arguably one of the goats of the division. You've got Gilbert Burns. You've got Sean Brady. There's another guy that I think he's Russian. He's like 15-0 or 18-0. I can't remember his name, but he's more of a striker, I think. And I'm just like, man, would you ever go up or down weight?
I can't go down weight anymore. I'd probably, I'd consider finishing my career up at middleweight, but yeah, I had some health issues cutting down a lightweight the last few fights. The fight against Kevin Lee and then the fight against Andrew Holbrook. Actually passed out, had a seizure, one of the weight cuts.
Not worth it.
And then my last fight at lightweight actually had partial renal failure, so partial kidney failure.
Wow.
And they pretty much said you can't cut that amount of weight again because you might risk going into full kidney failure. Then you have to get a dialysis plug. And being a dumb young kid, I was still like, I'll risk it.
Yeah.
And then my old man, my parents were like, no, you're not. You can go up a weight. You can go up a weight because I used to fight welterweight when I was before I got to the UFC. Yeah, so I used to fight welterweight, and then I dropped because then I went to Albuquerque to train with Greg Jackson's gym, and I realized how big some of these guys are.
Yeah.
So it was sort of a no-brainer. I mean, some of the lightweights were bigger than me. Like, as a welterweight, some of the lightweights were bigger than me there.
Yeah, well, I mean,
so I went down
huge.
Yeah, big boys.
I don't see Conor McGregor cutting down to lightweight anymore either. He's almost 200 pounds. I'm just like, dude, there's no way. Then
no.
I just like you said. I mean, your body tells you, and obviously, I guess you as you with age, you just know not to push it.
Exactly. Well, plus I got in the UFC when I was 19, so I'm still obviously going to grow a little bit and develop.
Yeah, for sure.
So over each fight, I progressively got a bit harder and harder to cut the weight.
Who do you want next?
Man, we're struggling to get someone. I think on the external rankings, I'm about 19. Obviously, I want to. I've had 16 fights in the UFC. Had a very good performance the last one. So we're trying to get a ranked guy. Man, I've asked for Santiago Ponzinibbio.
You're welterweight. What about Kevin Holland? I mean, that might be
Well, apparently him and Brady have agreed that they want to fight each other. So, and I'm working my way through the list. I've asked for Ponzinibbio. Apparently, he's very sought after. He blocked me on Instagram, so I'm guessing he probably doesn't want to fight me. No, I'm not even kidding. He blocked me on Instagram. That's
a grown man that did that too. That's funny.
Yeah. I guess and because everyone was getting around it. I mean, he was getting tagged left, right, and center. So I think he was just getting sick of that. So he just blocked me. But I can ask for Pereira. I mean, he went a decision with Fialho. I finished him. I'm lower ranked and I'm a dangerous fight for any of these guys now. So I've even gone as far as
Sean Strickland next. No, it's middleweight.
The guy who jumps. Yeah, the guy who jumps around and does all the flips.
Right.
Yeah. So I've even gone all the way up to ask for number 7 ranked Stephen Thompson. Obviously, a good striker, good karate background.
Sure.
Clash of styles, boxer versus karate guy. I think that'd be awesome. But all we can do is just keep emailing. Yeah. And if I beat him, I jump straight to top 10, and then I'm a few fights away from being in title contention. So. I mean, one fight, like literally one good fight like that has changed the trajectory of my career.
Yeah.
But man, we just gotta, all we can do is keep asking the matchmakers and see what they say. But it seems like everyone's tied up at the moment. So I don't know.
What are your thoughts on Khamzat? I mean, you think the hype is real? You think he's going to be the guy that could throw Usman off, or?
Oh, not after the Burns fight. I think, man, he definitely,
he's a human.
He'd definitely be a challenge. He's human, exactly. He's human. I think the hype that he had was, I think sometimes you just string together a good run and you have this perception of invincibility around you, and he had that.
Mm-hmm.
Gilbert exposed that. I think at the moment, I think Usman would beat Khamzat, but he's still new to the UFC. Once I've had like twice as many fights as him. Probably more than double the amount of fights. So once he grounds his feet, he finds he gets his rhythm going. He'd definitely be a contender for the title for sure.
I think he's got a lot of room to grow. How does that experience help you? Given that does that experience kind of help when you? I guess you've overcome some things and that many fights in the UFC. When you get hurt, does that veteranship kind of does it help you get out of it, or is just the mental aspect of that? I mean, does it just help having all those fights under your belt?
I definitely think it helps, but I don't know. I never suffered nerves, even for my first fight. Never had nerves. I've always been very composed in my fights, always very calm. I've never really lost my shit in a fight. So I already had it anyway, but I do still think it developed even more over having so many fights. And it's just a matter of, like a lot of people say to me, oh, you've been in the UFC for, 9 years, coming on 10 years soon. You haven't got a title yet. I said, yeah, well, I got in the UFC when I was 19. I had to learn. I literally had to learn on the job. You know what I mean? No 19-year-old's going to go in the UFC and win a title.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's high-level competition. That's almost like the only one that's really doing it now is Chase Hooper.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, some guys come into the UFC and they're already established. They might have a world title somewhere else. They've already had a lot of fights, like Yuri Prochazka. I mean, like 28 wins, 3 losses. Third fight in the UFC, he's a light heavyweight champion. But he's established before. I got him when I was 19, so I had to learn on the job. And I feel like we've finally just hit that time where people say you're in your prime, you're in your peak. Late 20s, early 30s. And that last fight just sort of reinforces that.
Right. What's been you think the biggest change since you came into the UFC to now? Where do you think you've grown? Obviously, your boxing, you found your groove in the boxing. We saw that. I mean that was phenomenal, man. That was awesome.
Thanks, man. Yeah, and that's the biggest. I think I went through a stage where I became more of an intelligent fighter, and then took it too far on that spectrum and became not only intelligent but too much of a safe fighter. Right. Game planning was wrong. And what I did for this last fight is I looked back to when I was younger. When I was 18, no one could touch me. No one could touch me when I was there. I think almost every single one of my fights was first round finish, and I'm talking about like Australian champions. I'd go up to middleweight to get fights, and I'd finish these guys too.
You just knew you were that level. Yeah.
Yeah, and then when I got to the UFC, something changed. I think a lot of fighters, I was doing a certain thing to get to the UFC. Once I got to the UFC, I stopped doing that. I started playing a bit safer because you got a bit more on the line. You know what I mean?
Oh, right.
What I said for this, what I said to this last fight was, I said, man, like I got to look back to what I was doing when I was younger. I was doing like pretty strict sort of boxing. I'd actually fight like a boxer. I'd jump for submissions, and I'm happy to go to my back because I'm confident in my jiu-jitsu, and I lost that along the way. So this last fight, we did what we had to do in training to get that back, and it made all the difference. So. Yeah. So that's the biggest. That last fight is the biggest change and the biggest improvement that I've seen in my career.
Right. No, for sure. I mean, man, people don't get it, man. Like a good boxer, it's so hard. Even when you got somebody like a Jorge Masvidal or someone that's such a good all around striker, a good boxer though, man, at close range, it's hard to do anything because you're gonna have your fist in their face before they can even think, And it's, man, I don't even know. Watching your boxing in that last fight, I just don't know. Like, there's not many other welterweights that can box like that. I mean, you showed that you've really, your boxing is good. It's just you see a lot of these other there's definitely just not a lot of boxers. Like they have an MMA type style. And
yes,
Cody Garbrandt had it when he was on that tear. Man, he was knocking people out because he was sticking to that boxing. He was moving his head. His head movement was side to side, and he was just cracking people. And obviously, I think once these
MMA fighters don't have head movement. Like you said, I believe like in terms of strict boxing, I'm one of the best boxers in the division, and I'm definitely probably the fastest in the division in terms of my footwork and my entry. And I've been told that my whole career, my explosiveness is what distinguishes me from a lot of people. And it's just about harnessing that explosiveness. I always used to overshoot my strikes. I always used to come in too close, get taken down by grapplers. We've sort of managed that now, and we're a lot smarter with my footwork. But obviously in the last fight, obviously I had the head movement, the speed, the hands. Now I believe it.
The young Nick Diaz in your last fight. That's how your boxing looked. That's how it looked. It just looked crisp. it looked. You could tell that you were the way that you were fighting in that fight, your stance, like just like you're saying. I mean, everything was boxing. It was boxing, and trouble. That's trouble. I mean, people don't realize it's.
We've got these small gloves on, man. It doesn't take much with these small gloves.
Exactly. I mean, it's a big difference when you get hit with a 12 ounce, 10, 12 ounce, maybe 8 ounce glove. I'm sure it's different depending on where you're boxing, but I mean, that's why there's not. I mean, you saw it with Tyron Woodley. He went and got knocked out by Jake Paul. It's a different game, and Tyron Woodley's a wrestler, obviously, but it's a completely different game. It's a different athlete. The footwork's different. The head movement. Hey, you said it yourself. MMA fighters don't move their head like boxers do. If you're not moving your head in boxing, you're probably gonna get knocked out. That's just
But a lot of MMA fighters they worry with the head movement. Moving, like slipping your head out into an oncoming kick,
right? Or a knee,
things like that. But but I mean, with boxing, obviously my head movement's going to come when I'm in a lot closer. I'm not in kicking range. I'm too close for someone. You know what I mean? So it comes down to really small details like that. If I'm far enough away that a kick could land, I'm obviously not going to be dropping my head out to the side. It's just there's ways that we can adapt boxing to MMA, and I think I showed that in the last fight. And it's literally been like since I started in the UFC, it's been a process to try and figure out how to translate my boxing from training into the fight. And it's taken 16 fights, but we did it now. And it's at the perfect timing too, because like I said, late 20s.
The maturity is coming in your prime.
Coming into my prime. That's it. So it's all sort of falling in place.
People are in their prime until they're 33, 30. I guess it depends on the person and their body, but I mean, you're right there at the perfect time. What were your thoughts on the last card this weekend? Did you get to watch it?
Sorry, which one was that?
Kattar and Emmett. And I know Adrian Yanez fought.
I didn't get to watch it. I looked at the results.
Right.
Man, what I don't know what was going on. Like it's like 9 knockouts or something. It was
something
nuts.
Crazy like that. Yeah. Adrian Yanez knocked out Tony Kelly. And then Kattar and Emmett was a slugfest, of course. Both of those guys are,
I heard that might have been a little bit of a robbery.
I'm not a judge, and the way I look at it, I'm just like, dude, I don't know who won that fight. I mean, I think Kattar's hand could have been real. Like, I don't know that much about Josh Emmett. I've met Calvin Kattar. I think he's a great guy. So I'm a little bit biased. I think it was a good ass fight. It was one of those fights that you see where neither one of them held back. I do think that Emmett won he landed the bigger shots. You could tell he was loading up in his power. And then again, I mean, they just, I don't know. It was a close fight, man. It was what you want to see as an MMA fan, or even just somebody that watches the sport. Like one thing I've noticed is the level of knowledge between somebody like me and you. Like you train this, you live it, you eat it, you breathe it every day. And whether I train Muay Thai, a couple times a week or not, it's just the level of knowledge is not the same. Things that you see in it is not. It's going to be completely different than what I see. And that's where the judging is. I don't know why the judges are the way they are. And from what I understand, I think it's the commissions that pick the judges.
With the judging, it's all relative. I mean, one of the judges might see that. I mean, they might have that keen eye for someone who's a volume striker, and they're noticing that Kattar may be landing the volume, but then there might be another judge who says, well, if you're more beaten up at the end of the round, or the end of the fight, then the other guy won. Right. But I guess if you judge it that way, like GSP should have lost all his fights because he was always beaten up after his fights. But it just comes down to the judge, and that's just human. That's just humans. You know what I mean? There's never going to be consistent. There's never going to be a way to have consistent judging.
And I guess as an athlete, you kind of just have to say, I can't leave it up to the judges.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, exactly. I'm sure. From what it sounds like, I'm sure Emmett was trying his best. Yeah. Kattar's just tough though, man. Kattar, like I don't even know if it's possible to put him away.
Yeah,
he's
they're both. Emmett he's 37, I think. I mean, phenomenal. I guess the amount of work that you guys put into your body when it comes from nutrition to all of it. I mean, the dude's probably 25 years old in his body, but he's 30.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, he just some people got
you're only as old as you feel.
I mean, Glover looks he almost looks better now than what he did when he was 30 years old. Now, I don't know if that's because the light heavyweight division is not what it was back then, or if it's just because Glover just is that much smarter of a fighter. I have no idea. But I mean,
I don't want to take anything away from Glover. Obviously, you haven't got like back when Jones was there, Shogun. That was like the most dangerous division.
Right.
I mean, I wanted to be a light heavyweight. There's no chances I'm going to be a light heavyweight because I'm small, but I always wanted to be a light heavyweight just because how stacked that division was. But I'm still in shock. Firstly, I was in shock that Glover won the belt at that age.
Beyond,
that was awesome, inspiring to see. And then to watch the last fight, honestly, I thought Yuri was going to go in there and probably beat him in the first round, second round. I thought he was just going to go out and do what he did to Dom Reyes, and I was like, man, Glover's not going to be able to wear that flurry.
I can't believe he was striking with him like that at that age, at that high. I mean, because Yuri's not a ground guy, and he kind of fell into that choke and choked him out. And I'm just like, dude, Glover if Glover wouldn't have pulled guard, he would have won that fight.
That guillotine. Yeah,
and
I reckon if he had kept throwing strikes, I reckon they would have stopped it. Because
it's just it happens. I'm sure he looks back and he's like, well, shit. But
yeah. Well, surely they're going to rematch off after that one.
Yeah, that was.
You think so?
Might have been fight of the year so far. I mean, that was fucking phenomenal. I just don't know. There's some big fights to come this year. I mean, you got. I don't even know. I mean, let's say you got that one. That could be a rematch. Anybody who's Usman fights is going to be huge. Him and Leon. I'm curious to see how that goes. Because man, Leon's MMA. He's well rounded. He's a completely different fighter than the first time. I just don't know if I guess anybody can get caught. When I saw him get caught by Nate in that last round, I'm just like, dude, if he wears a shot like that from Usman, I don't know if he's going to be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Usman's a big welterweight.
Then he's going to know that going in, so he's obviously going to have his defense. He's focused on his defense going to be a lot higher. Yeah, I think he might have started relaxing. He might have thought he had a one. Started relaxing. Obviously, you can't relax on a guy like Nate Diaz. Yeah. Right. Whereas with Usman, I think he's going to know that he can't settle and relax, even if he is winning the fight.
I mean, Masvidal did it, and Masvidal, I don't think he'd ever been knocked out until that point, and then man, you think what do you think about Charles Oliveira Islam? I mean, the one thing I can say about Oliveira is
so they're fighting, right? I saw that. They're out there.
So. I think they.
Yeah, that's nuts.
The end of October, and Oliveira's completely. I mean, first I was like, okay, he won this fight. Then he did it again, and then after how he beat Gaethje, I'm just like, and Gaethje went up to him after the fight. He's like, dude, you hit hard. I'm just like, this guy is a problem. Yeah, I think Oliveira will take it. I think. I don't know. It's just his time, man. Like I just can't see him losing. And I think he's more than comfortable to go to the ground. Obviously, he's going to try to avoid it, but the way he jumps on necks, a lot of guys focus on the takedown defense and all the way to the ground, whereas he will accept that. Okay, I'm getting taken down, and he'll start setting things up. Yeah. Oliveira gets,
what I mean? So
it's almost like he goes straight to his back. It's almost like it's not a real drop. He jumps on his back and he's like, let's go. He's like, I can do it.
Yeah.
He's evolved. He went to shoot box, and now his striking is there. And obviously, you don't want to go on the ground with a guy because he's so quick in the transition. Yeah, that's the thing. I can definitely, especially with wrestlers, when you let a wrestler take you down, they are susceptible to getting caught in subs. Whether Islam's a different level of wrestler, obviously, but also Charles is also a different level of jits, and the striking on top of that. It's even if Islam's able to get him down before Charles lights him up, I just think Charles is just too much at the moment for anyone. Yeah, in the division. Sure. I just think that obviously wrestling and jiu-jitsu are so different. I see Islam as more of I'm going to hold you down and ground and pound, versus where Islam. I mean, Charles isn't just going to sit there and let you do that. He's going to slip into something, and he's going to have his legs around your neck or You know, he's
Yeah.
snake. Dude's nuts, and
Yeah.
he's evolved. You know, it's like he's not the same kid that it was sat in the corner. I mean, I guess he's been in the UFC a long time, and obviously he quit in that one fight and said he couldn't go no more. But he's not the same guy anymore.
Different monster.
He is, man. I thought Gaethje was gonna. I didn't think he was gonna drop Gaethje like that. I mean, Gaethje's one of the biggest slugfest guys in the UFC, and Charles put him on his ass convincingly.
I had them on par. I thought like either one could clip, but then when I was watching the fight, it was just they're not even on the same level.
No, and watching, I don't know why Gaethje from what I understand, he used to be a phenomenal wrestler. And
yes,
I don't know why he went against that. If I guess they want to put on a show. If Mike Chandler would have wrestled Gaethje, he probably would have won that fight.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, sometimes, obviously, I believe in my boxing, my striker at heart, but I always know that I have my grappling in my back pocket. If I ever am in danger and I need to take the fight to the ground, I will. Maybe along the way, like you said, they get used to getting some big knockouts, getting bonuses. But at the end of the day, it is MMA, and maybe what they're missing is they have to bring, I think both Chandler and Gaethje were both started out as wrestlers.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that sometimes you need to resort back to what you used to do, like I did in my last fight.
Exactly, that's where you found, man. Like, and I think that's Gaethje may need to do that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, look at how successful Colby Covington is, and it's not even that, like, from what I understand, it's not even so much his skill as his cardio. He just gets on top of you and you can't get up. And he don't have to be the best striker. He's not going to land a big power shot and knock somebody out, but he will definitely hold them down for 25 minutes and make them not want to be there. Sure.
Yeah. It's a lot easier just to try and knock someone out. I look at the way Colby fights and Bilal Muhammad fights, and I'm like, man, fuck that. Like, I'll just knock the guy out. Like, it just seems like a lot of hard work. And then when you got to fight those type of guys, like, I'm sure every striker, you sort of dread fighting those guys because it's gonna be messy. You know what I mean? They're gonna be on your legs. You got to try and separate. You're gonna try and get a few strikes in. They're gonna try and bomb your legs again. So it calls for completely different game planning. You have to be a lot smarter fighting those guys. It's and like you said, it's more like you look at Bilal and Colby, and you say their wrestling isn't anything fancy or flashy. It's just they're fit and they're conditioned, and they just keep pushing the pace.
Yeah. I mean, when he that last fight against Masvidal, it's not even like, I don't even think Masvidal was that hurt after the fight. I just think that he had held him down and wore him out. I mean, he just I think in the fourth round, Masvidal landed an elbow that almost put Colby out.
Almost.
I mean, Colby got it. For how small he is, he has a chin. The kid, man.
And he's strong too. He seems. I heard he walks around like me. Like, I walk around at, I don't know, in pounds, 83 kilos, probably close to 184, 185 pounds.
Right. He's a small welterweight. Yeah. I mean,
I've heard he walked.
Yeah. About the same size. I think Corey. Yeah.
Whatever he's doing in training and his body shape works for him, that allows him to have that. Maybe if he put more muscle on, he's not going to be able to maintain that. If I got bigger and put more muscle on, maybe I'm not going to have that speed. And that speed is so. Whatever your advantage is, it's good to have your. It's not like the long gone are the days where you have to be the biggest guy.
Right.
Man, I used to find a lightweight. I was the biggest guy in the division by a mile.
Right.
I used to cut down from like 190, 195 pounds down to 155. Yeah, and I'd put close to 20 pounds back on after weighing. And without fail, every single fight I had in lightweight, I'd go back to the corner and I'd say to my coach, I'd be like, man, this guy is fucking strong. And it wasn't that they were strong, it was that I was so depleted. Even though I was bigger.
Yeah, I'm sure that helped. There it goes.
Sweet.
Yeah, there you go. So you're saying you were so depleted, right? I'm sure that hurt your chin too, right? I'm sure you can't take as big of a shot when you cut that much weight.
Nah, so I mean, you see a few fights like I look like I just get like clipped and I have like a little stumble, like not that I get rocked, there's and
Right.
yeah. So when I had the last few fights, actually, I ended up developing this lung condition. I had to go on an inhaler for about 4 months. Um, and they also said so I had to go. I went and got like pretty much complete checkup. They said my cerebral fluid was down by like I don't know a large percentage, and they said which obviously will you're more susceptible to getting knocked out easier, getting rocked.
Right. But that's what happened to
Yeah,
Cody
so
in the last fight.
oh yeah, 100%. He just looked
He cut too much weight.
100%. Yeah, and it does. Like you actually, people don't realize you lose fluid from your lungs, which affects your cardio. You lose fluid from your brain.
Right.
And then I went up to welterweight. My first fight against this Serbian guy. I can't remember his name, but yeah, biggest guy in the welterweight division. Used to fight middleweight, and he and when I wrestled him, I was like, man, like this guy actually doesn't feel that. Like the lightweights felt stronger in comparison.
Right.
Yeah, and now because I'm fighting almost 100% now. Even for Emil Meek, big Viking Norwegian guy, jacked as shit. None of these guys have felt like I'm overwhelmed with strength. Even the Sean Brady fight, everyone says he looks strong. I mean, obviously they're strong, but it wasn't even his strength. He's just got good control on the ground. Like he just did a good job of taking away my post. It wasn't that he was like, fuck, he's really strong. Yeah, so it just goes to show, man, like trying to be the bigger fighter and cutting a lot of weight that's like a thing of the past now.
Right. I'm sure you'd love to get another match from Sean Brady, huh?
Yeah, I can see us, we'll be like a main event when we're both top 5 or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I actually just got a message. I just got an email said all the ranked opponents are either injured or tied up with fights. So we're gonna have to see. Yeah, no, we're gonna have to see how we go.
Colby Covington, I guess he's dealing with that Masvidal stuff. To me, it kind of seemed like he was hiding from Hamzat just a little bit. But
potentially, not. Yeah, potentially. I mean, but I'm also like I'm trying to be modest with it. I've had this last good performance. I'm not going to go and call out top 5 guys or the champions.
Right.
I still want to work. I still want to work for it. Yeah, I still want to work for it. You know what I mean? Right. But all I can do is, I've tried to get someone in the first 5. From 15 to 10, I've tried to call them out, unsuccessful. I mean, all I can do is keep trying.
It seems like that.
We're just gonna, yeah.
And look at Chito Vera. I mean, he's taking his time, and the dude's dominant. Sean O'Malley's kind of done the same thing. He doesn't want to get in the top 5 right away, because I feel like you don't grow as a fighter necessarily. You don't experience some of the same things.
Yeah.
I mean, you.
100%. Yeah. No, there's nothing wrong with taking your time. 100% get that experience. I've had. Like I said I've had 16 fights now. I've got that experience, and I feel like I'm hitting that momentum. In terms of Chito, man, I remember Chito. When I was at Greg Jackson's gym when I was 18. There was Chito, Yair Rodriguez, Brandon Moreno.
Yair.
These guys were living in like this back room in Greg Jackson's gym. Man, they were using like camp stove cookers to cook their dinner. And they're all sleeping in bunk beds and shit because it was. So what they had to do, they had the it was the first South American Ultimate Fighter.
Right.
But what they had to do before that is the Latin America Ultimate Fighter. Before that, they had to. It was almost like Greg Jackson. It was like an Ultimate Fighter before the Ultimate Fighter.
Right.
At Greg Jackson's gym, and they had to earn their way. I mean, these guys were living like in bunk beds, and like just eating trash food out of like camp cookers. And to see them where they are now, you've got like Brandon's a champion, Chito's killing it. Yeah, Yair's like a monster. It's just crazy to see. Like we used to hang out with these guys, you know what I mean, and train with them every day. And yeah, it's cool to see how far they've come, and and hopefully I'm starting to work more out there now as well.
Right. No, that's awesome. It's really crazy how small the MMA world is too. Like there's the more fighters we talk to, we talked to a guy. I think our last one, it was Carlos Azoya, and he's in Fury. And I think the very first guy he was like it was the first UFC fighter we did. It was Terrence McKinney. And how small that world is like they used to train together, and like way back when they were both amateurs, and Terrence was saying, "Oh, I'll never be in the UFC." And that was when Carlos had fought Sean O'Malley in some like small country ass. I don't even know what kind of ring it was in. Apparently, like Sean O'Malley weighed in at 145. Carlos weighed in at 135. They didn't even have the weight right. I'm just like, these guys are best friends back in the day. You know, they rode together and like in the back of a truck or something. And I'm just like, that's crazy. That is crazy.
It is a small world, yeah. Even though the popularity's grown, and I don't know, like it's the martial arts community is still a very tight, small community.
Right.
And in Australia it's the same thing. You know, everyone knows everyone. You know, everyone knows all your secrets, and and then a lot of politics when it comes to that as well. We're having such a small community, but yeah, no, you're definitely right, man. Small world.
Right. I mean, man, I think my favorite thing is, we started doing this podcast probably back in like January, February, and man, compared to other sports, I think that fighters are some of the easiest people to talk to. Like it literally took me. I DM'd you, and I think within a day or two, you had seen it, responded. I don't know how often you responded to DMs. I'm sure you tried to, keep close with your fans and stuff. But man, it's just like I've never had an issue getting. Obviously, I'm not going to get a hold of somebody like Israel Adesanya, but I just think it's crazy. And then more obviously, I mean, I think we even had. There's some big names that are coming up, but it's just so easy to talk to. It's not like if I would, Peyton Manning, for example, big football player, or if I was to go DM
good luck.
Messi, right? Like not gonna happen. Like it's just
yeah. It's I don't know. We're definitely different breed of athletes. I think
right.
First of all, you're getting humbled in the gym every single day.
Right.
And also you still, whether it doesn't matter what sort of martial art it is, you still got that, you've got that, that respect and that discipline that's instilled through martial arts. It still has that, I don't even know what you'd call it, that old that old mentality of, respect. Right. There's not too many fighters. Even the fighters that on TV, they seem like they have big egos. Like you'll probably be shocked, but the nicest guy in martial arts that I've ever met is Kevin Lee.
Right.
Everyone's like, oh man, he's up himself, he's cocky. I'm like, man, that is 100% hype. Man, Kevin, so we fought. He was talking a lot of trash before the fight. Right. He's trying to stare me down and talk trash. And man, after the fight, like he couldn't find me quick enough, pretty much like hugging me until I forgive him for talking shit. Like he would not leave me alone until I forgave him. He said, man, it was only hype. I was just trying to sell the fight. He says, please forgive me for that's not who I am.
I heard the same thing about Colby Covington.
Yeah, no doubt. It's all hype. Like no one's like that in real life. And if even I've never met McGregor, but I'd imagine that he's probably similar. I mean, he'd probably
he likes to party,
okay guy to talk to.
But I don't think he's. I think any time there's been an incident, like when he punched the old man, dude, the old man said something to him, regardless of what the situation was. I think you're right. I think he's probably a pretty nice guy. I mean, he's really good at selling the hype. Same thing with Jake Paul.
But he's also next level. Being that kind of having that level of money, fame, that's definitely going to influence you a little bit. But across the board, generally, martial arts fighters, they are pretty easygoing people. And a lot of them are just, normal family people. And it's not something we go get a scholarship at a college and we're a big name in college. Exactly. And then we, get drafted. You got to start in probably some garage gym. You're fighting in tin sheds in your first few fights. It's a very humbling journey.
Right. And you're trying to, you're especially when you first start, you're eating this crap food, trying to fill your body. And you're pushing through, and you really don't have the energy, but you do it. It's very humbling. It's one of the most humbling sports, I think, because no matter what you do, there's always somebody in that art that's better. In that specific art, there's always someone that can beat your ass, no matter what.
I was gonna say, if they're better than you, that means they can kick your ass. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's just like I said, the guy I trained with, man, dude, he beats my ass every time. He's been doing this for way longer than me, and he embarrasses me. I'm just like, okay, let's go. Let's go. It makes me better.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, it's humbling. It makes you realize, like, man, what is that next level like? Because and that's just like you, and I'm sure the people you spar with, I'm sure you're just like, man, these guys are good. your coaches, the things that they know, just next level. There's always somebody on that level above, you know.
Always. Like I'm never. I say to people like I'm nothing special. You know what I mean? I've never been the fastest, even from playing footy, you know, or training. I've never been the fastest guy in the gym. I've never been the strongest guy in the gym.
Right.
I've never been the best jits. I've never been the best jits guy. I've never been the best stand-up guy. But when you put it together, when you put it together, and I say, and even if someone gets the better of me in the gym, I'll say that's fine. I said the jump into an actual competition, it'll be different. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's just work ethic, man. I'll always be the guy who's working the hardest in the room. I won't necessarily be the best at any one thing, but I'm gonna put in the most amount of effort.
And the crazy thing too is, you know, you could get in the ring with the best in the world and you can still win. That person could be way more talented than you, but if you, like you said, if you put in the work, I mean, you can beat them. And all you got to do it is once, maybe
100%.
twice in a rematch. But there's not a. I mean, dude, Israel Adesanya can get knocked out by an amateur if he doesn't put his hand up, he's gonna get knocked out. I mean, it takes one.
Exactly, but you know, you translate that to other sports like basketball. An amateur's not going, like someone off the street isn't going to be able to go out and beat someone, a pro basketball player.
Exactly.
You know, it's just different. I think that's why fighters are so easygoing and humble, because like you could literally there's always a puncher's chance. You could have someone come off the street and they could knock you out. Like, you can never count anyone out.
Yeah, it could be an amateur, somebody that, you know, like we were talking about this the other day. You know, let's say you go out to a bar or pub. 99% of people are probably going to throw a big right hand if they get in a drunken fight.
Yeah.
It takes 1 second for them to do that, and if you don't look, no matter how easy it is to slip that, it's going to hurt. Put somebody on their ass.
Yeah.
You know?
That's it. I think knowing that as well is why a lot of fighters avoid trouble. Like, you know, I've never really been one to go out to pubs or party much. But if we do ever end up going out, I'm like the last person who's going to start trouble. The first one is going to try and avoid it, because I understand what people are capable of.
Right. You know, people are monsters in general. Humans are not. You know, it's you could be a different person.
We're assholes.
Exactly. I mean, it's just, you don't know what the human mind is capable of until they get put in the corner, and then you're going to find out pretty quick. You know, and just from the little bit of training, you know, that I do, you can tell by the way somebody carries themselves if you should fuck with them or not. And 99% of the time, the person starting the shit is somebody that's going to get knocked down. I mean,
and the people that you look at and you know you shouldn't start trouble. It's not the guy with big muscles or big tattoos all over their body. It's a different demeanor. It's, you know, there's guys that walk into the gym and they've got, like, you know, like I said, tattoos on their face and they've got muscles, and I look at them and you can just tell that it's all for show. And then you get this little scrawny guy, he might have glasses on, you know, but you see cauliflower ears, maybe it's the way he talks and carries himself, and you're just like, fuck, there's something. You learn how to read people. It's funny.
I tell people this all the time. I'm like, man, just because, you know, like, I'm 6'2", probably about 200 pounds, and I'm like, dude, there's a crazy amount of people that are probably 130 pounds that punch twice as hard as me, because their technique is just that good. And it has nothing to do with how big you are. When you're technically sound, like, these people are not, they're not meant to be fucked with. They're not meant to be. I mean, it's a different world, you know. Like I said, like, kind of, you can tell what's for show and what's for not. Like the way people are strutting their stuff. Genuinely speaking, somebody that's pretty laid back, just not looking to start anything, that's probably the person you want to stay away from.
Yeah, 100%.
Like you said, it's why? You know what humans are capable of, and you see it every day. I mean, yeah, it is what it is.
It's good. Well, that's the thing I talk to people. It's good for kids to understand, because obviously kids, you know, can go down the wrong path. They can go, you know, get out in the street, have fights. Now, I think once you get the kids into martial arts, they realize, man, if I pick the wrong person on the street, I'm in trouble.
Right.
So I think that's what humbles people so much, because you know, they think they're tough, they think they can fight. They come into a martial arts gym, they probably get towed up by a you know, even by a lady or by a woman.
Yeah.
And then they understand, like, man, I gotta be careful. what I do out in the street.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, dude, it's scary. It's scary what could happen. I mean, and nowadays, especially like with all the training that comes into it, women are just as capable as a man of putting anybody on their ass. I mean, you look at some of these women fighters, just in what I think the UFC started in 2013. Since Rousey and that like initial crew came through, women's martial arts is becoming just as athletic as men. They're becoming a problem. I mean, like one of my favorites, Casey O'Neill. Dude, she's a problem. Shevchenko, obviously a problem. I mean, that level of martial arts is high, and you're
starting to see a lot more finishes and knockouts. So they're definitely, the level's definitely increasing.
Yeah, I mean, like that. Watching Jane Wei fight, I'm just like, wow, she's a problem. She's got with Henry Cejudo, and it's just like, what the hell? I mean, she's so well rounded in her game. It's just like, you're right. The finishes and knockouts they're like naturally coming. You know?
Yeah. The level's definitely picked up for sure.
Right. You have any questions? I mean, I pretty much asked them like most of yours. I think we're pretty much.
You talking about this?
Yeah. He even asked him what his opinion on Kevin Holland was. He said that he pretty much agreed to try to fight Sean Brady.
Oh,
so
I think they've pretty much mutually agreed to fight each other. So, which will be an interesting one. It'll be interesting to see that fight.
Yeah, it will be interesting.
Such a high-level grappler versus such a high-level striker.
Yeah. Well, I was going to make the argument, like everyone wants to see two high-level strikers fight each other, but I think where they are in their career, I think that's probably more likely going to be the matchup.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get a fight at the moment, but everyone's sort of booked out, so we're just gonna figure out the game plan from now and see what we have to do to get a fight.
So everyone in the top 15 is either injured or already has a fight. So it's just like, man, what steps do you take next?
Well, yeah, there's so much going on in the welterweight division right now. It's through and through. So yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, there's still some good fights outside the top 15, but I mean, at this point in my career, it'd be good to I mean, like I've had 16 fights now, so it's not like I'm trying to rush to the top. But I think if I can definitely pick some good solid fights, especially good striking fights, and show that my striking is up there as one of the best in the division.
Hey, maybe you can be Connor's comeback fight, man. Maybe you can be Connor's comeback.
I think. Well, I saw that Masvidal was number 8, but I think someone said that Connor and Masvidal are going to fight each other.
I would definitely watch that.
That would be a good strike.
Yeah.
You can see what Connor's got left, because right now people say, "Oh, he's washed," and I'm like, "What do you mean he's washed?" Because he lost to Khabib and Poirier, and no one knows what would happen in the second round of that fight. I mean,
he's still solid. Don't worry about
that. He looked a lot better in that fight, and then he broke his leg, and it's just like, okay. But yeah, I mean, it's either going to be. I think it's going to be Masvidal or Chandler at 170. But
yeah, well, even Volkanovski's said to him, meet me at lightweight.
Oh,
yeah,
be fun.
Yeah, that'd be interesting as well. That'd be good. The Aussies would love that.
I think if I could have a dream fight, it would probably be featherweight Connor and Volkanovski. I just think Volkanovski's too well rounded. I just like after watching. Did you watch him and Ortega fight?
I did, yes. Yeah, that's insane.
I don't understand.
Like, what can you do? What more can you do to try and beat someone?
Exactly.
Ortega, like any other human on the planet, probably would have been choked out. And
that's just when the mentality. That's when the mentality comes into it too. Like that was so much more than just technical skill and skill. That's just like a championship mindset. You can't teach that. That's
all just heart.
Exactly. Yeah. That's just a different breed there for sure.
Dude, his head was purple. His bald head was purple. I was like, how? I couldn't. That's one of those fights where I was literally yelling at the TV. I was like, there's no way this just happened. I mean, that division is just as scary as the lightweight division. What do you think is going to happen between Holloway and Volk in the third fight?
I don't know. I actually didn't see the second fight, but there's a lot of people arguing to say that Holloway probably could have come away with the win. So hearing that, obviously, man, I'm excited because it's obviously gonna be like they've both obviously have progressed since that second fight as well. Yeah, I have no idea. Obviously, being an Aussie, I'm gonna be rooting for Volk, but
it was that.
Yeah.
I don't know. You could pick a winner either way, and I think I would. You could argue.
And both of them probably have two of the strongest mindsets and biggest hearts in the division. So you know that it's just gonna it's gonna be one of those fights again.
I don't know how Holloway. He's been hit the most times in the head, I think, in the history of UFC, and the dude's never even been knocked down. I'm just like, you would think at some point your brain get rattled enough that it's just like it's gotta stop. But hey.
Now, what part of Australia are you in? Do you get to train with any of these other Australia guys, or?
So we're down in Melbourne. So in Melbourne, we've got myself and Jimmy Crute from Melbourne. But yeah, I mean, we've like Rob Whittaker, Jacob Malkoon. Sometimes they come down to us. Okay. Sometimes we'll go up to them. Not as often as we'd like, especially during the lockdown. But now it's opened up. So, and we've definitely had talks about going up to, to where Volk trains, even going across to New Zealand to City Kickboxing. We're always in talks. It's just a matter of pulling the trigger. I've got kids at home and family, so it's just managing that as well, making sure there's a balance. But Tyson's from up in Sydney. Yeah, he's from Sydney. You got like James. Yeah, there's a handful of. There's actually quite a few Aussie fighters now.
Yeah, and they're all.
When I was. Yep.
They're all.
When I first got in the UFC, there was only about four or five of us maybe.
Yeah.
But I think it was well over 10, maybe close to 15.
Yeah. You guys all seem to be like very high level strikers. That's definitely a common trend through all of you guys. High level striking.
Yeah. Yeah, well, boxing and Muay Thai is sort of has deep roots in Australia. So a lot of fighters would start. Like I started with boxing when I was 12. So above every other sort of martial art, I've done boxing for longer. And you'll find that a lot of them probably have done some sort of striking first.
Right.
Because a lot of us play football. A lot of us play footy. Pretty much 99.99% of Aussie kids play football or rugby. And somehow there's a link between rugby or football and boxing. And like a lot of footy players go to boxing for fitness. So there's that crossover there. So you probably find that's why a lot of guys would get into fighting.
I mean, that's how Volk started, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
I heard he used to be like
he was a rugby player.
85 pounds. I'm just like, that is nuts.
I think he was bigger than that. I think he was 200 pounds.
Wasn't he? Yeah, he was 200 pounds.
Yeah.
To me, I just I don't know where you fit that. Because how tall is he? Like 5'6", 5'7"?
Yeah.
He just a cannonball.
Just a straight bowling ball.
Was he a light heavyweight? He's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Stay healthy. Oh man, I think he's right up there with Yuri in terms of striking. I mean, dude's phenomenal.
Now, I don't know if you talked about it. I know you're looking for your next fight, but I know in your interview after your last fight, you said you wanted to stay more active, especially with things going lately. You haven't been able to be as active. Ideally, how many times would you like to fight a year?
3 times is a good amount. 3 fights a year. After the lockdowns and just the last 12 months not being able to get a fight, I'd like to try and get 4 fights. Maybe have 4 fights within the space of the next 12 months. From the last fight, within 12 months, I'd like to get another 3 in. That'd be ideal. Just get the momentum going. Having a fight like that, you just want to get straight back in there.
Yeah.
And in your mind, it's all planned out. I'm going to fight in Paris. I'm going to get a ranked opponent. And they're like, nah, the Paris card's full. All the ranked opponents unavailable. I'm like, fuck. It's just like, just a slap in the face. But, like I said, there's good, tough fights outside of the top 15 as well. So, and staying active is sort of my primary goal at the moment.
Right. I guess ring rust is real. I mean, do you definitely feel it when you haven't been as active as before?
Nah, I mean, maybe I'm used to it because I had like dual hip surgery back in 2017. So I had 10 months off there. When my first child was born, I had 10 months off there. So I've had a few sort of long periods. I mean, I probably would have had 30 fights by now if I didn't have any fucking all these delays. Yeah. I had four fights in the last 12 months that all fell through. So but going into the last fight, I mean, having the other layoffs, going into the last fight, I didn't feel any ring rust. I felt, I pretty much stayed in training the entire time. So that time went quick because I did about four fight camps back to back. So that 12 months went quick. I guess I've just done it that many times now. I'm used to it.
Makes sense.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh man, I think that pretty much wraps it up. I mean, I think we've covered everything. I look forward to watching you fight.
Yeah, cool.
Well,
hopefully it's something soon. September, October latest, and then maybe something else after that.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, that'd be awesome. You put on a hell of a show.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah,
you can hit me up through WhatsApp if you need anything. We should be dropping.
I might get you to send me the number with the area code. So I don't think it.
I'll send it to +1. It's the US. That's right. I'll send it to you again because WhatsApp you have to have.
Yeah, because I added it to my contacts, but it didn't go on.
Brendan's as well.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
And,
where are you guys based in America?
Houston,
Texas. I would have guessed. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, if I'm ever out in Texas, I'll hit you up for sure.
Absolutely.
And he's from Minnesota originally. So he's done a little bit more.
I've been all over.
I've been more like I've traveled everywhere on the East Coast, but I mean he played baseball in college, California.
Yeah, I've been all over, everywhere but the East Coast of the state. So,
like I said,
I did 9 months. I did 9 months in the Midwest when I was 18. I was in Chicago. Yeah, I was in Chicago for about 9 months. Yeah. I was wrestling. I wasn't in the high school, but I don't know. John Jones' wrestling coach, Izzy Martinez.
Okay.
Yeah, so I lived with him and Yair Rodriguez, and I wrestled out of his high school. Yeah, I wrestled out of his high school, and in that time we were in between Chicago and Albuquerque.
Yep.
At Greg Jackson's gym. So. Yeah, it was good. It was cold as shit during the winter, but it was good. I loved it.
Oh, yeah.
He was telling me that Yair and Chito Vera literally lived in the back of the gym and had these little like almost like Bunsen burner like things. They were cooking these canned meals on. And he's like watching how far that they've come. It's just like
I think I've heard Chito talk about that before.
Yeah. Me and Cheeto were like we were like best mates back when like we were both at Jackson's.
Oh, that's awesome.
He still messages me every now and then. If we fight on the same card, we see each other. It's still like we only just seen each other yesterday. We used to hang out all the time.
I think the combat community is definitely a lot tighter than some of these other pro sports.
We're talking about that.
We're talking about that. Yeah.
Not gonna happen.
Yeah, I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Man, we're talking about how Carlos and Terrence had literally rode in the back of the truck bed when they fought. Yeah. I'm just like, man, all these people know each other. They all know each other, and he was talking about how Kevin Lee's probably the nicest person you ever met. Like, basically, he's like, dude, he hyped the fight up so well, and then afterward, like, he was like literally hugging him until he wouldn't be mad at him anymore.
And you see that all the time after fights, so totally, I think that's awesome. But yeah, awesome. I appreciate your time, boss. I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said,
thanks for having me on, guys. It was awesome.
Good fun. That way you can have both of us on WhatsApp. I'll send you my number and I'll send you Brennan's. That way you can.
Too easy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the missus wants to get out to Texas eventually, so.
Dude, yeah.
She actually wants to move there. So who knows? But
it's hot. Who knows? Dude, it's hot. I'm telling you, it is hot. I think it was like 98 degrees.
Yeah, I'd say try to stay away from the humidity in Houston.
We get 120 in we're in Australia during summer.
Is it humid or is it like a dry heat?
Dry.
Which
makes it worse.
I think I would pick the dry heat over the humidity, honestly.
Dude, it could be
sick. We're in obviously Singapore's humid, so the humidity. I love the humidity.
Do you like
it's
that?
It's the dry heat. Yeah. I hate the dry heat.
I guess we all have our preferences.
It has each one has its pros and cons.
Right.
I played my college baseball out in California in the Mojave Desert. And so there, I was playing baseball games in 115 degrees dry heat. I would pick that over 115 and humid any day. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
At least the air is not so thick that you can't breathe. So
you still
like
breathe. Yeah.
the dry heat, it's a little bit easier to breathe when you're outdoors for sure.
You know what's funny is I'm sitting here complaining about the humidity, but I guarantee you, if I lived in California, I'd probably be complaining about that heat too. So to be fair,
Exactly. Yeah.
I think when you hit a certain degree of temperature, it's probably just hot.
Yeah. You'll never be content. So
Exactly.
yeah. I better get to this next training session.
Yes, sir.
But I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you've been awesome.
And we're trying to get some merch together, so we'll send some gifts out.
Yeah, for sure. We got
That'd be awesome, please. And anything you want me to share of this podcast, just send it to me and I'll plug it and put it up on the Instagram.
Absolutely,
awesome,
man.
You've been great, man.
You've been awesome.
All right.
Like I said, I'll hit you up and get you both our numbers. So enjoy your evening.
Awesome.
Man.
Sounds good.
Training, or enjoy your morning, actually.
I will do. See you later, guys.
Adios.